Make sure that we can see everything here. Okay. We are going to start in a seated position on our mats today. We're going to start with a little bit of a meditation and kind of a visualization practice. So if you guys want to go ahead and get into a comfortable seated position, think about extending your spine long. Make sure you're sitting upright. Taking a nice deep breath. Just kind of checking in with yourself. And then as you are checking in with yourself, I'm going to encourage you to focus on some of the thoughts that are going through your mind. Just noticing those. Deepening your breath. Allowing that breath to go in through your nose, all the way down into your belly space. Using that breath to release tension in your body or to release stress. That means that you need to do a soft sigh out of your mouth to release some of that. Feel free to do that. And then as you notice your thought life, one of the encouragements for our practice today, for our meditation, is to visualize or picture your thoughts going out of your mind and into a thought bubble. So I don't know if you guys have seen those cartoons where there's like a little kind of bubble that is, directly connected to the cartoon character's head, and it's like saying what they're thinking inside of their head. And so that's the visualization that we're using today, as we have sometimes so many thoughts that are kind of swirling around in our brains. And so if we can release those thoughts, allow them to kind of go out into that thought bubble, and then if you can, think about letting that thought bubble just kind of float away. So you can either look with your physical eyes and imagine that kind of thought balloon floating away, or if you would like to keep your eyes closed and again in your mind's eye, just picture that thought releasing from your head, going out into that thought bubble, and then just kind of floating or drifting away. All of that while we maintain our breath. So we're going to call back to that practice of using our thought bubbles as we move our bodies today. So to start, we're going to go ahead and shift so that our right arm comes across our body. We're just going to lean off to one, not lean, but twist off to one side gently, just to warm up that spine a little bit. Think about extending the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. And then releasing that, we're going to take the other side. So take the left hand across the body, twisting off to the other side. Again, reaching that crown of the head up toward the ceiling. When you're ready, you can release that forward. We're going to take the palms to the front side of the knees and then open up our chest, looking up. Extending that neck if you can. And then when you're ready, you're going to tuck your chin and start to arch your back, stretching between those two shoulder blades. Coming back up to center. Take that left hand down, right arm up. Exhale off to the side. And coming back to center. Take the other hand up toward the ceiling as we inhale. Exhale off to the side. Coming back to center, we're gonna put that all together. So taking the right arm across, straightening, twisting, breathing, then taking the other side. So moving straight into your twist on the opposite side. And then returning that to the front, taking hold of the front side of the knees, opening up the chest as you inhale. Exhale, tuck the chin, arch the back. Coming back to center, inhale one arm up. Exhale off to the side. Switching sides, inhale the other arm up. And bending off to the side as we exhale. Coming back to center. We're going to take our hands in front of us, pull ourselves up onto all fours, and then we're going to walk our hands towards our knees, tuck our toes, start to shift our weight onto the balls of our feet. So we have this little low squat here, getting a nice stretch through your calf muscles and your Achilles. Then lowering the feet down, lifting the hips up, coming into our first forward fold of the day. If this is too much sensation for you, you can go ahead and bend the knees, or you can bend one knee at a time, just kind of alternating from side to side, allowing those hips to have some movement. Feel free to sway if you need to. So you kind of work yourself into that pose. Releasing the head down, allowing the crown of the head to point down toward the floor. Go ahead and shake your head yes if you would like. And then, wave your head from side to side if you would like. And just releasing all of those little muscles. Coming back to center. We're going to go ahead and bend those knees, hands on our knees, as we very slowly round up. We've got a little bit of a shorter practice today, and we've got some different combinations of things that we've put together. So sometimes when we do that, we need to allow a little bit of more space in our brains as we try something new. So as we try something new, sometimes our thoughts can go a little bit wonky as well. We kind of feel uncomfortable, or we can feel like we're not doing it right, or like we're not good enough. And so again, that's where we're going to use that meditation tool of the thought bubble. We're going to let that thought, we're going to acknowledge it, allow it to kind of float outside of our head, come into that thought bubble or thought balloon, and then just allow it to float away. Reminding ourselves of the grounding that we have, that just being here and showing up is enough, that we are wholly and deeply loved in the present moment, just as we are. Yeah, whatever those foundational truths are for you, if you can ground yourselves in those as you even press your feet into the mat, opening up the chest, tucking that chin back slightly. And then when you're ready, we're going to do a series of chair poses and then sweeping up to standing. And so we're going to start by shifting our hips back and down, allowing those hips to come almost like we were going to sit in a chair. And then bringing our hands to our heart center. We're going to allow those hands to come down along our sides and then sweep up into standing, bring those palms together down to heart center. Once more, shifting our hips back, coming down into that chair pose. Taking a nice breath here, Feeling your feet firmly planted on the mat, sweeping those arms down, sweeping those arms all the way up as you inhale, palms together, exhale, hands down again. Let's do about 5 of those at your own pace. So shifting your hips back, coming down into chair pose, sweep those arms down, sweep the arms up, palms together, exhale down. Doing that again. Sweeping the arms down, inhaling as you sweep your arms up, palms together, exhale down to heart center. One more, shifting the hips back, bending the knees deeply, sweep the arms down, sweep the arms up, palms together, exhale down to heart center. This time, we're gonna add on a little bit. So we are coming back down into our chair pose, like this. This time, we're starting to shift our weight to that left foot. So if that means you just wanna raise the right heel, trying that out first, that's fine. If you can, then you're gonna see if you can pick up this right foot and step it back into a crescent lunge. And then let's go ahead and step this back leg forward once more. We're gonna step into the chair pose. We're gonna sweep our arms down, sweep our arms up. Inhale as you press your palms together, and then exhale, hands to heart center. Let's do that again. Coming down into our chair pose again. Shifting our weight to the left foot, raising the right heel. Then we're gonna go ahead and pick up that right foot if we can. Step it back into our crescent lunge. From here, we're gonna actually turn that back foot. So we're coming into a perpendicular stance, raising those arms into warrior two. We're gonna bend the front elbow, take the front elbow to the front knee, reaching up overhead for side angle. If you want to, you can look up toward the ceiling. That's gonna challenge your balance a little bit. If that's not comfortable for your neck, feel free to keep looking down toward your foot. Taking another deep breath. Then we're gonna lift out of that, turning toward the long edge of the mat, allowing those feet to come out at an angle. We're coming into wide open A, then we're gonna fold forward all the way down toward the long edge of the mat. Just allowing your upper body to hang down here. If you want to find a little bit of movement here, as always, you're welcome to. Doing what feels good for your body. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and turn those feet, bend the knees, and then lift up into goddess pose. Then go ahead and straighten those legs. We're going to start to turn ourselves so we are facing the short edge of the mat. That means we need to do a little bit of rotating with our feet here. So we're going to turn so that we're facing the short edge. Both toes are lined up with that short edge of the mat. And then we're going to fold forward for triangle pose. Feeling that nice stretch on the hamstring of the front leg and on the calf muscle of the back leg. From here, we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to bend this back leg, and then we're going to sit down on top of it. So that way we come to a position where our right knee is bent in, and our left leg is straight in front. We're gonna sit nice and tall here and then walk those hands forward for a forward fold. Taking one more deep breath. When you're ready, you can walk those hands back towards center. This time we're gonna invert this knee. So we're gonna switch it around so that way our heel comes back by our hip and our knee is forward first here. If this is not comfortable for you, as always, you can leave your foot this direction. That's totally fine. So either way, depending on what's available in your body today, from here, we're gonna go ahead and fold forward once more. And walking those hands back. You can either leave your leg like this, or you can switch it back around if you're already there. We're gonna bend the left knee deeply. We're gonna interlace our fingers and make like a little sling for our foot. So we're interlacing the fingers underneath that left foot. And then from here, we're pulling that leg up parallel to the floor. So the temptation, as you can see in my body right now, is to release those shoulders and kind of slouch forward into that. See if you can kind of pull that leg in towards your body and straighten out your shoulders a little bit, if you can. From here, if you would like, you can then extend that leg straight or as straight as possible for you. This puts a lot of pressure on that hamstring. So if you have a hamstring injury or if you're not feeling quite warmed up enough, then I encourage you to just leave your knee bent. And then bending that knee, releasing that foot. We're gonna go ahead and extend that forward, sit up nice and tall, and then fold forward once more. When you're ready, you're gonna walk your hands back. We're gonna sweep that foot back and around us, and we're gonna come up to all fours. And here we're gonna do some cat-cows. We're gonna allow the belly to drop down, the tailbone to come up, looking up. And then when you're ready for your exhale, go ahead and invert that. Arching up toward the ceiling. Once more, inhale into cow. Exhale up into cat. Just going at your own pace. Flowing between those two positions. Maybe doing 5 or 6 of those. Coming back to neutral when you're ready. Checking in again with your thought life. And then if needed, using that thought bubble process, allowing those thoughts to release from your mind into that bubble and float away. From here, we're going to tuck our toes. We're going to lift our hips up toward the ceiling and push back into downward facing dog. From here, you really want to see if you can get your biceps alongside your ears. And if your knees are not straight and your heels are not down on the floor, that's totally fine. You're just kind of energetically working toward that position, even if you can't, even if that's not available in your body yet today. Taking one more deep breath here. We're going to go ahead and shift our weight forward, allowing the knees to come down to the mat, untucking the toes, shifting our hips back over top of our heels, and then stretching forward for child's pose. Reminding ourselves as we move today that we are linking movement with breath, with thought life. And so sometimes it's helpful as we move our bodies to use that breath, maybe as we're thinking about that thought bubble kind of exercise, you are using your breath to actually blow those thoughts away from you today. When you're ready, we're going to lift onto all fours. We're going to go ahead and use that left foot, bring that forward, and then we're going to tuck the back toes, lift, and bring that back foot in, coming into our triangle pose. Then bending that front knee, we're going to step forward, coming into forward fold at the front of the mat. Then go ahead and bend those knees, putting your hands on your knees, and then lifting slowly. Very good. I'm going to turn around to the other side of the mat before we get started, so that way I'm still facing you all. But from here, we're going to go ahead and start again with those chair poses. And so we're going to shift our hips back. We're going to come down into our chair pose, making sure that our knees are not jutting out over our toes, but that they're back in alignment there. From here, we're going to allow our arms to swoop down, sweep up all the way as we stand up and inhale, putting palms together, and then exhaling down to heart center. And then you kind of know where we're going now. So we're going to do about 5 of these, shifting the hips back, coming into chair pose, sweeping the arms down, lifting and inhaling, palms together, exhale down. Again, coming down into chair pose. Lifting palms together, exhale down. Once again, coming into chair pose, allowing those arms to come down. Inhale up, palms together, exhale to heart center. We're coming into our last one, shifting the hips back, exhaling the arms down, inhaling the arms all the way up as we stand up, palms together, exhale down to heart center. Okay, adding on from here, we are going to go ahead and come down into our chair pose first, making sure that our feet are still firmly planted on the mat. Shifting our weight to that right side, we're going to lift the left heel. See if you can lift that left leg off the mat and then step it back, coming into crescent lunge. Then stepping that foot, the back foot, forward again. Go ahead and stand up. Release those arms down. Taking a nice deep breath. And then we're going to do that again. So shifting our hips back, coming down into chair pose, shifting our weight to the right foot, allowing the left heel to come up. Then bringing that foot all the way off the mat, stepping back into our crescent lunge. Then go ahead and I'm going to invite you to blade that back foot. So this is when we're coming into our parallel stance here. Lifting both arms up into warrior two. Chest open. Bending that elbow, elbow to knee, reaching up overhead. Taking a few deep breaths here. We're going to go ahead and lift up, straightening that front leg, turning our feet so they are a little bit out at an angle, turning toward the long edge of the mat. For wide open A, and then we're going to fold forward. So hinging at our hips, we're coming down, bringing our hands to support us underneath us. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and bend the knees deeply here. Then lift the upper body, bring your hands to heart center for goddess pose. Taking those big deep breaths. You can do this. When you're ready, we're going to straighten those legs. And then from here, we're kind of rotating those feet to the right. So that way, eventually, our toes are facing the short edge of the mat. From here, we're leaning forward, bending into triangle pose. Taking some deep breaths, checking in once more with your thought life. Then from here, we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to bend the back leg and come and sit down on top of that back foot or over that back foot, however you want to say that. So that way our right leg is straight out in front of us. The left foot is bent in toward the body. Then from here, we're going to go ahead and fold forward over top of that extended leg. Sometimes we can kind of play around with the images that we use to help us manage our emotions and our thought life. So if it's helpful for you today to think of those thought bubbles almost like you were blowing them up or like you're blowing up a balloon as you use your breath today. As you exhale, almost like you were blowing into a balloon. And then filling that balloon or that bubble with those thoughts that you need to just release and let go of. When you're ready, you can walk those hands back to center. We're going to invert this foot. So we're taking the knee towards the front. The foot is coming back by our hip. We're facing forward. As always, there's the option to keep it the way that it was. And then from here, leaning forward. You'll notice this stretches just a little bit differently on your hamstring. Again, breathing deeply here. When you're ready, walking those hands back towards center, turning that leg around if you haven't got it there already. Then from here, you're bending that right knee deeply, interlacing your hands, taking that underneath your foot. And then from here, you can lift that knee. So that way the bottom part of your foot is parallel to the floor. And then again, look at my body as I've got, this rounding in the shoulders here. We don't really want that. So we're going to try to straighten out those shoulders, move those shoulders down away from the ears, really pull that knee into your chest or into kind of like your armpit area. Taking a deep breath. And if you can, then from here, lifting and straightening that leg. that's not accessible, then stay with that bent knee. You're still getting all the benefits of that pose. Making it accessible to your body. Then bending that knee even more, releasing that down, straightening out that leg in front of you, and folding forward once more. One more deep breath here. And walking those hands back to center, sweeping that right foot back and behind you. I'm going to come onto all fours once more. Returning to our cat-cow position here. So again, allowing the tailbone to come up, allowing the belly to drop down, opening up the chest, lifting the crown of the head. Then when you're ready to exhale, tucking your chin, allowing that curve to come through your spine, tucking your tailbone. And then when you're ready for your inhale, moving into cow. Exhale and move into cat. Just going at your own pace. Going back and forth between those two poses. Realizing that you're in control here of how much sensation you feel. It's an invitation. And returning to all fours into that neutral spine position, we're going to tuck our toes and then lift our hips as we press our heels down toward the mat. Again, reminding yourself that you get to choose how much sensation you feel here. And as you move your body, again, checking in with your thought life or with your emotions. So often those two things are connected. So maybe for you today, it's not a thought bubble, but it's an emotions bubble where you need to kind of release those things into a bubble and let them float away. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and bend those knees deeply, dropping those knees gently down to the mat, untucking the toes, sitting back on top of our heels, stretching forward, coming down into child's pose. Really opening up those shoulders as you rest here in this pose. When you're ready, you can go ahead and return to all fours. This time we're taking that right foot forward. And then we're going to tuck the back toes, lift the back foot, step the back foot in slightly and straighten the front leg, coming into triangle pose. Then looking forward, we're going to bend that front knee, walk our hands forward, step that back foot to meet the right foot, bending one knee at a time. Just working ourselves into this forward fold once more. When you're ready, you can find a little bit of stillness there in the front. Releasing all the tension you feel in those back muscles along the spine. Tucking the chin, allowing gravity to pull the crown of your head gently down toward the mat. And bending your knees deeply, placing your hands on your knees.
Yes.
Go ahead and round ourselves up very slowly. Good. And we're going to turn toward the front. So I'm going to turn toward the side of my mat so I can face you all. And we're going to heel toe our feet out, not as wide as in wide open A, but a little bit wider than shoulder width apart here. I'm going to encourage you to keep a soft bend in your knees, to roll those shoulders kind of back and down. You're opening up your chest. Your chin is tucked a little bit so that way your ears are over top of your shoulders. And I'm going to encourage you to take your hands to your waist. And we call this super person pose. So Superman or Superwoman or super person, however you would like to categorize that in your mind. But think about if there was like a bunch of energy beneath your feet, right? If it's traveling up your legs and up and through your heart, opening you up, in and up and through your brain, out the top of your head, just energizing all of your body, empowering you for that next step. Grounding you, knowing that you have that firm foundation, the truth that you stand on, that you are deeply loved in this moment, just as you are. Yes, we all have areas of growth, and that's good and as it should be, and also who we are right now is enough. All right, when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and heel toe those feet together a little bit. We're going to release those arms, kind of shake them out a little bit, shake out the shoulders if you would like. Bring your hands to heart center, and then let me close us in prayer today. So God, we give this day to you. We give ourselves to you, knowing that you have good plans for us. Lord, as we go throughout the day, would you continually remind us of our thought life, of those big emotions that we feel, and help us to utilize some of these tools that we have practiced today, those thought bubbles, just releasing those things, allowing them to float away if they're not serving us. And God, would you be the foundation underneath our feet, giving us the energy that we need to take the next step forward. We're grateful for your presence in our lives, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Thanks for coming.